Brian, can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's going on?
Wonderful! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the Kingpin himself, Ring of Honor's Brian. Okay, actually, I had to ask: is it Milonas or Milonas? I don't want to get it wrong.
Milonas.
Milonas.
Yes.
Ring of Honor's Brian Milonas. The Kingpin invades. It's the wrestling podcast with the podcasting wrestler.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which, by the way, I checked out the show. I really enjoyed it, and I noticed a funny coincidence. My show started January 2 years ago. Your show started in July 2 years ago. So we've got a thing going here.
There we go.
How about that? It's good to have you on, man. I noticed...
A little bit.
Excuse me?
I said you have to bear with me a little bit. I've been battling a cold. So.
Oh, I've had a cold for the past 2 episodes of this show. I understand. You still sounded fine. But anyways, welcome aboard to the show. It's good to have you.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate being here.
Yeah, I checked out the episode with MJF. Just immediately, like, with the scarves. I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. You just posted that today, I think.
What's that?
I think you just posted that today. So
The MJF? No, that's a few months ago. No, it's from a little bit back. But
I read it wrong then. But that does date the episode.
No worries.
So, I noticed you plugged your upcoming battle with the Briscoe brothers. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, well, so that's next Friday night, 1 week from this, on the 12th in Baltimore. We want to be the World Tag Team Champions. Now, this isn't a title match, but in order to get a title match, probably not a bad idea to wrestle the World Tag Team Champions. And I believe the Ring of Honor Tag Team division is the best in the world, and that means the Briscoe brothers are the best tag team in the world if they hold those titles. So,
absolutely,
pretty cool opportunity.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is you and Beer City Bruiser have been around. Like, what's so interesting is that you guys have made towns and fought some of the biggest names of the business. So, in a weird way, it's like you even said changing of the guard in the tweet I saw. And yet, this isn't really a guard change. It's more or less just like you getting recognition for an already impressive body of work.
Yeah, well, it'd be a change of the guard in terms of Ring of Honor. The Briscoe brothers are synonymous with that company, and that company has literally been built upon their backs, along with some of the other guys like Lethal and Christopher Daniels. So when I say change of the guard, I guess I'd be more Ring of Honor. But yeah, it's been a long road for both me and the Bruiser, and for both of us to kind of arrive at the same time, at the same point, at the same time, and get this opportunity together is pretty special.
It is quite special, and from what I read, I was watching a match that you had with Donovan Dijak, and one of the people in the match mentioned a 14-year history, but that's an older match. So how long have you been wrestling now?
Yeah, I'm coming up here in November. Will be the 17-year anniversary of when I started training. So.
You started wrestling in November? Yeah,
November of 2001 I started. The day before 20th birthday.
That's kind of funny because my birthday's in November.
My birthday's in November too.
Air high five. a lot in common.
What's your birthday?
November 5th, Guy Fawkes Day.
What's that?
November 5th, Guy Fawkes Day. From V for Vendetta.
22nd this year.
I think that's my uncle's birthday.
Look at that.
So, that's great. Burnout Inc., good to see you, my man. My friend Chase is on here. He was the first person to be on the show. Just wanted to give him a quick howdy do.
Cool.
Okay, one thing I really want to ask about is I noticed a lot, and especially recently, you got the jump on it though, wrestlers getting into other forms of media on the internet. Now, if you notice, Zack Ryder had his show years ago, now he's got another one now. The Young Bucks like doing Being Elite. You have Wrestling Podcast About Nothing. What do you think is the reasoning for this? Why did you start a Wrestling Podcast About Nothing?
Yeah, for me, it's another way to connect with the fans. We have this platform, whether it be podcast, whether it be social media, the internet, YouTube. that's really been about what the evolution of the pro wrestling business has been about these last few years. And it's profoundly changed the industry because fans are able to connect with the wrestlers in a way they never have before, and vice versa. Talking to you on here like this today, this is something 5 or 10 years ago, not even possible. So it really was about a new way to connect with the fans, a new way to get my name out there, and it's to be perfectly honest, it's, as you probably discovered, it's really fun.
It is really fun. I've had a great time doing the show. From what I can see, you've had a great time doing wrestling podcast about nothing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's Mike Crockett is my partner, and it keeps me on my toes. But it is. It's a lot of fun. If it wasn't fun, we wouldn't be doing it. We talk to different people. I think between the two of us, we're probably approaching 40 or so combined years in the wrestling business. So we feel like we can offer a unique take from kind of like an inside baseball sort of perspective.
Absolutely, and this is an idea that seems to be getting explored a lot now. Again, you get the jump on it, which I find kind of interesting. For example, like Austin Creed has a lot of people on his show. I believe Colt Cabana kind of stopped doing interviews recently, which I find kind of weird.
He did, but Colt Cabana is the originator.
Absolutely.
When it comes to wrestling podcasting, man. The art of wrestling was he essentially, Colt Cabana has written a book on podcasts for pro wrestling.
Absolutely.
And Colt's a hell of a guy.
I've only met Colt once. I actually did wrestle a little bit myself. I've met a few people. It's an exciting prospect of meeting people through wrestling and through my programming. Meeting you today, so far, a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. I'm happy to be here. This is, like I said, it's always cool to connect with new audiences and new people, and it's a lot of fun. It's, again, we're talking about a new way to connect with fans.
So with that, you say it's a lot different. Would you say this makes it easier or harder?
It's kind of both, I guess, because you have this platform and you have this medium that's available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at your fingertips. So sometimes people shoot off, maybe something they might regret on the internet. But it's easier, I think, in one aspect. When I first started, there was no way for me to just get my name out there other than the old-fashioned way, sending tapes, writing, email was around, but you didn't have this social media platform. I couldn't just upload a video to somebody and send it to a promoter or upload a video and have it get, thousands of views and get picked up like that. Look at, Marco Stunt, who I don't really know. I've never met him. But he got booked for All In because of a crazy thing he did on the show like the 2 weeks before or something. So word can spread a lot faster with social media, and I think that's been a really big asset to not only the guys, but the promotions as well. And
what would you say is the benefit in doing more, how do I present it? Creative things? Like, again, the Young Bucks have BTE. People are sending out the more creative spots that, Marco Stunt or others are doing. Would you say that, the more creative stuff is better, or the more real stuff, at conversations?
Well, I think it depends on, I think it depends on who you are and what your personality is and what you're trying to put out there. If I went out and tried to put on this being the elite type show, it wouldn't feel authentic. It wouldn't feel right. It's not who I am. It's not what I do best. So everybody kind of has to find their own niche. I think for those guys that works perfectly. For me, that I really like doing the podcast, and for other people, just being on social media, pretty consistently every day is the way to go. But I think you got to find what works for you. How can you display your personality? How can you best market your brand? It's essentially, at the end of the day, it's marketing.
Which is a lot like being a wrestler, coincidentally,
Yeah, exactly. You have to get your name out there. You have to sell your brand. This is a hustler's business. And you see it every day with guys. I think of a guy who unfortunately just got hurt and he's going to be on the shelf for a while, but Joey Janela. That dude hustles his ass off. He's done everything he can to get his name out there and was exploding, and it really sucks he got hurt. But this is a hustler's business, and that dude's a hustler. And I mean that in a good way, not a bad way.
Oh, absolutely. I messaged him just purely to say, like, hey, man, I got taken down off the shelf. I totally understand. Dude, I want to see you back and healthy, get better. I made sure. But, yeah, I totally understand the hustle aspect of this. Hustle is why I was able to have this show at all. Hustle is how I got, into things. It's a hustler's business. I totally understand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
One thing I find kind of fascinating, at least, about the way wrestling has changed, and I think having you on the show is kind of great because you kind of represent that change. Is a lot of back in the day, big guys could just kind of be big guys. It's almost like in a slasher movie how it's like this immovable object who doesn't have to do much. But I saw a not Ring of Honor, but a Future of Honor match that you were in with Howie. He's a singery guy.
Howie Timbership.
That was it. And he's not a small man, but you guys were moving, and that's a change that's not necessarily recent, but it has evolved over years. And how would you say that's changed for you, being one of those big guys I just mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a way for me to stand out. It's a way that I could be different from everybody else. The big guys I liked growing up were the big guys who could move. The Big Boss Man, Bam Bam Bigelow, Vader. Those guys are really the originators of big guys being able to do stuff. The One Man Gang was another guy who could move. The days of the plotting big man are probably over. You have to be able to do everything. Now, am I ever going to be a high flyer? Absolutely not. That's not in my repertoire. That's not who I am. But I can move. I'm an athlete, and I think that, again, that's helped me really stand out over the years. I think the same thing for the Bruiser, too. He's another big guy, but he can move. And when you're our size and you can do the things we can do, it really helps you stand out. It really does.
All right, well, let's go to Bruiser now. Let's talk about the Bouncers, which has really, I don't know how to put this, like, really helped you make a name in Ring of Honor. Really helped, just by having that spotlight of being able to fight the champs. Maybe not a title match, being able to fight the champs. Things are moving. Is basically what I'm saying. How did this tag team come together at all?
Yeah, so it's funny. We actually wrestled each other. Last year, a little over a year ago now, we wrestled each other in Lowell, Massachusetts, and the match was really good. And we had like an instant chemistry together, and us, and people in Ring of Honor are like, hey, you know what? These guys might make a hell of a team, and it kind of came together that way, just actually from wrestling each other and showing what we can do against each other, and people just thought it might be really good for us to be together, and I think it's been a success, and I'm just excited to see where it goes now.
How did the name of the Bouncers come up? I feel like there's kind of an obvious gag of you two just being big guys being able to throw people out, but is there any other reason?
Yeah, man, it's our bar. You know what I mean? When you're the bouncers of the place, you're the ones throwing people out. You're the ones kicking people out of the place. So we look at it. The Ring of Honor is our bar, and we're going to throw anybody out who we don't think belongs there.
I love that. And like I said, things are moving, and do you see, so for example, to go back again to other tag teams that get around, the Briscoes, for example, the Bucks, the Lucha Bros, do you see eventually the Bouncers branching out, hitting the towns and going around?
Oh, do you mean like in the independents?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we'd love to. We've had some discussions about going overseas and some discussions about some promotions, in the United States too. So probably not for the remainder of 2018, but yeah, 2019, I think you can expect to see us out there.
Love it. Speaking of overseas, Japan specifically, you've had a long career. Gonna assume you've traveled at least once.
No, I've never.
Really?
Wrestled is Quebec City, Canada.
Really?
Believe it or not.
First of all, I love Canada. Shout out to the boys up north. But what I was going to say is it's kind of interesting is that in Japan, as you can see with guys like Andre the Giant and Brock Lesnar. Being a big guy helps. It's kind of an interesting part of their culture, and you would fit in well there. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, historically, big Americans have done well over there. We think about Bruiser Brody, Big Van Vader. I think about the Bruiser. Bruiser went over there and absolutely crushed it. Yeah, they like big wrestlers from the States over there. That's for sure.
Looks like we have a comment here. By the way, feel free to shout out comments you see that you like. Anyone out there who wants to ask a question, go ahead. That's kind of why I started doing the live format. It looks like somebody up here says they want to see you and Bruiser fight American Made.
Well, we're not going to back down from anybody, so we'll take any and all comers.
Now, how did the nickname the Kingpin come about? Because one of the first things that I think about immediately is comic books, the bad guy from Spider-Man and Daredevil.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of was the inspiration, I guess. I was kind of looking for something to go with my name, and I was working with Chaotic Wrestling at the time, and the owner of Chaotic Wrestling at the time, a guy named Jamie Jemikowski, he's the one that came up with it. He thought it was perfect because of my stature and kind of the character I was portraying at the time, and it really stuck. It's something that for whatever reason people gravitated to, and it's really stuck since then, and that's why today I've just continued to keep it and go with it. People seem to like it.
I kind of want to see you fight Ego now, Ethan Page, who has also been on the show, because he did the Daredevil movie, and I think that'd be funny. He did his own little Daredevil fan film, and you're the Kingpin. It only makes sense to me.
It'll be perfect. Let's make it happen.
Absolutely. God, I used to have this joke about my dream card, but it was really stupid. Like, I was fighting Robbie E, and Marty the Moth was fighting the Fire Ants all by himself. You versus Ethan Page is on the dream card.
No, perfect. Book it.
Perfect. I'm booking it. Got to book my super show. Getting around to it. One of the things that, in my research, I always do my homework before every interview because I want to know as much about the other person as possible, is your training with Killer Kowalski, which, unfortunately, rest in peace, Killer. A lot of guys got that experience, and it went really far. How do you say it benefited you?
I mean, what could I say? Everyone, anything I say about Walter's not going to do him justice. But I mean, he was in a wrestling encyclopedia. I mean, here's a guy who helped write the when you think about like the history of pro wrestling, this guy helped write the textbooks. He was at the forefront of it. As a villain, he was a guy who came through the television at people in an era where television was very. It was early. It was early in the advent of television, and Kowalski was somebody who really came through the TV at people and really resonated with people. And he's a guy who could have made money in his era or any era. He was ahead of his time, both from work standpoint and from a promo standpoint, from a character standpoint. He was really ahead of his time, and really lucky to be able to count him among my mentors and have traveled with him a little bit, so it was really special, and somebody I'm grateful to have met, somebody who I there's a lot of us who are missed to this day.
Are you aware you have an IMDb page?
I'm not. I do.
Yeah, I actually have it pulled up right now. You're like rated 5 stars as an actor. So you
wow. Out of how many?
5 stars.
Wow. Well, considering I've never had a fictional acting role in a television series, that's pretty impressive.
It's all wrestling shows.
Oh, really? Well, there you have it. IMDb says I'm 5 stars. Dave Meltzer might not, but IMDb did.
Well, okay, so that kind of brings up an interesting point, is like fan influence, like just doing little things like that, like liking videos, rating you 5 stars on IMDb for whatever reason. How much would you say that affects how you do your job?
I mean, for me, it doesn't really impact how I do my job, other than you have to be in tune with the fans and know what they like and know what they want. So, I mean, something like that page isn't going to influence me, but I listen to the fans. And really, when you're in the ring, you need to listen to the fans. If nobody's reacting to what you're doing, then you've got a major problem on your hands. It's kind of funny. People think about like a guy like Roman Reigns, who's very polarizing, and everybody boos him, but they're doing something. They're booing him. Whether you love him or hate him, you have some sort of reaction to this guy. People confuse, love and hate or love and indifference. The opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is indifference. And as long as the crowd is still going wild every time Roman Reigns gets in the ring, and that's what you want. Whether they're booing you, cheering you, you want people reacting to you no matter what. And it's when people aren't reacting to you is when you need to go back to the drawing board and say, "Oh, I got to change something up."
Have you ever personally gone back to the drawing board?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times wrestling is trial and error. You go out, you put matches together, and you test out different things. You test out different things. You try to tweak along the way. And I'm not just talking about movesets. I'm talking about how you're putting things together and how you're interacting with the crowd. Maybe you're trying to get over a catchphrase. Maybe you're trying to get something over. It's constantly evolving. Something might work here, but it might not work there. It's if you're not, it's kind of one of those, wrestling's one of those things where if you're not improving, you're getting worse.
Have you ever really wanted something to get over and you just couldn't seem to get it over no matter how much you tried? Let me think. I have to think about. Just enjoy. I kind of give you it's not a specific example of what you're looking for, but just more of a general answer of in Ring of Honor right now. Especially when you talk about TV, being on TV now, you have to get over, and if you don't, they're going to find somebody who's going to replace you, and they're going to give that TV time to somebody else who can get over. So, there's something that sticks out in my head. I'm sure there's plenty of things that I've tried to get over the years that have stuck out the joint, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. You caught me off guard. If I think of something, I'll bring it up. Absolutely. Okay, why would you say that? How would I word this? So, from a lot of the matches I watched, you have always been the villain, but you seem like a really chill dude, and that seems to be a common theme, that, like, bad guys seem to be really chill. Why would you say that is? That, like, the more relaxed and naturally kind people seem to be drawn to being villains?
I don't know. It's one of those things, it's always... I think my size is what has always lended itself more to people, tend to be, that's where promoters have booked me, just I think because of my size, and it's a little easier from a storytelling standpoint, where you're wrestling a guy who's going to be a lot smaller than you, for them to be the underdog than for me to be the underdog. But for me, it's something that's always come naturally. Maybe I'm just a natural jerk, but. I think everybody should really be able to do both, but everybody has their niche, and I think that's been my niche. And even when I've times where I am a baby face, my character I'm at a point in my career where my character doesn't change all that much, depending on heel or baby face. A couple small tweaks, but really I am who I am at this point.
Absolutely. So you would say there's really not much difference between Kingpin and just everyday Brian Milonas anymore?
It's that old, tired cliche you've probably heard 1,000 times. It's me, but with the volume way turned up. I'm kind of an intense guy by nature. I'm probably, depending on who you talk to, they might tell you I'm a little high maintenance by nature. But and that's me in the ring too. That's my character. That's who I am. I'm a pretty intense guy, and I'm just able to ratchet up the volume, and that's what also helps the authenticity of who I am in the ring. You have to be authentic. I know everybody knows. Everybody knows what wrestling is. Right? You're playing a character, and that is what it is. But you still have to have believability. You have to have suspension of disbelief, and you have to have authenticity to you as a performer.
Absolutely. Now, okay, so this is a common theme of, like, how do I put this? Fans refusing to believe something, with just whatever it is. You brought up the example of Roman Reigns. He's very polarizing, right? Would you say that's hurting things, like the like we know what's best bit of ICW people or IWC people?
So I'm sorry, you cut out there for a second. What was your question?
So you mentioned everybody knows now, like things,
right,
the way things are. But a lot of people seem to, because they know that, they know best. Would you say that's hurting things, or just not really a problem?
No, I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's hurting things at all. There are some times where I'm just like, just watch it, enjoy it, and see where the story goes. I think sometimes people get too upset when it's funny when they do something to upset the fans, like they actually get a negative reaction, which sometimes in a story, that's exactly what you're going for. You don't want the fans to be happy. You want them to be upset, and you want them to tune in next week to see what might happen that's going to make them happy. People like go online and just complain about that now. It becomes this thing of like, well, that's because they don't know what they're doing booking. It's like, no, I think it's probably they know exactly what they're doing booking. They're trying to make you upset, and that's what's happening. But no, I don't think it's ruining wrestling or anything like that. If anything, it drives more conversation. It gets people talking about it more, and it's a good thing. I mean, it happens to me all the time where people if you're in wrestling, if you're a public figure, people are going to get online. They're going to talk about you. But it's better that they're talking about you than not talking about you.
Absolutely. And Brian, thank you very much for coming onto the show. This is usually, I'm starting a new thing where we're cutting it a little short because Instagram does give me a time constraint, but I cut it off short so that you get plug time. So anything you'd like to plug, now would be the time.
Yeah, you can check me out every Monday on the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing. Easiest way to find us is at WPAN.com. Follow me on Twitter at Brian Milonas. Go buy a t-shirt, BrianMilonas.com. Other than that, check out ROH Wrestling, and you'll see me and my tag team partner, the Beer City Bruiser, doing some damage there.
All right, and thank you very much for coming on the show. Good luck against the Briscoes. I'm rooting for you. Sorry, Briscoes. And thank you very much again for coming on the show. Folks, tomorrow you will be able to check this out on YouTube, the pre-recorded version. I had a fun time talking to my guest here. It's one of my more relaxed episodes. I really like this. Thank you again for coming on the show. We'll see you guys another time.
Take care.
Take care, folks. And